This is a quick overview of the Clever Communities course. In this course, we have 5 sections. This course is very much going to walk you through a process where each section you will do some work that will lead you on to the next section. This is not the kind of course that you can just sit back and work through the whole thing. This is very much something that you're going to work through, and you'll actually be doing a community project on the way through as part of this process. So the first component of this course is very much about you. This component of the course will look at a range of different things, but it will look at this idea of character strengths. It'll look at the idea of personality. It'll introduce you to the big 5 personality factors and the VIA character strengths as a way of understanding who you are, but also as a way of understanding who your team are. Okay, so this is really, really important. You cannot work as part of a team if you don't understand people. Okay, so understanding people, understanding yourself, and understanding one another is really, really important. Which leads us to the next thing. So it leads us to teamwork. Now, the teamwork process or the teamwork component of the course is going to look at things like, what does an effective team look like? Some of you may have never worked in an effective team. Some of you might have only ever worked in effective teams. Congratulations to you. I want to work where you work, but this will look at what effective team look like. What is looking at the team life cycle. So teams change as time goes on, and it's really important to kind of understand that stuff. So what's the life cycle of a team? And also we're going to get down to some really practical suggestions around how to run an effective team meeting, how to work well with one another, all of that kind of thing. Now, obviously, the reason you are here, the reason you've signed up for this process is that you will be undertaking a project. And so we are going to be looking at this idea of innovation. And we like to think of this as rural health and well-being innovation. So this is about how do we create new ways of doing things in a way that is new but also effective. So you'll be learning a bunch of things in this, but we're going to walk you through a bit of a process that gets you to think about the nature of the community. So it's all well and good. It's all well and good that we think that we come up with new ideas, but the reality is we're trying to change things in the community. So part of this is about understanding your community, and that's a really important component of innovation, is understanding your target audience. You'll also be looking at the asset-based community development approach. So there's been a bunch of research around how to do really good community work, and the asset-based community development approach is one of those. You'll look at some goal setting stuff to help you really kind of frame up exactly what you're trying to achieve. And you'll also look at how do we test this idea. So innovation, sometimes it's a really good principle to test an idea to fail fast. How do we test this idea before we spend money on it or too much time on it? So that's the innovation component. Community innovation. Now, we want to get down to the practicalities of project management in this course. So there will be a module looking at project management with a real focus, not just on project management in a corporate sense. There's a lot of stuff on that. But how do we do project management in the community where we're working with volunteers, where we're working often with no budget whatsoever? How do we do that in a way that still leads to really, really good results and doesn't compromise our results, but also provides a meaningful experience for our volunteers? And that's really, really important. We want them to come back again and again. How do we do that? It will give you some skills around Gantt charting, more on that later, but basically, how do we get organized in a messy space? Organizing events is complicated. How do we budget for having no budget? How do we keep squeezing that budget down? And how do we lead volunteers? Now, finally, and some of you may or may not like this, but we've got this idea of evaluation. Now, evaluation is really, really important because at the end of the day, just because you think an event was good doesn't mean that it was effective. And so this section is really about thinking about how do we evaluate our project so that we know that it has achieved what we wanted it to achieve. Okay, so clever evaluation will not only help you to understand whether you've achieved your objectives, but will also give you some, some data to back up future funding and future argument around the value of an event. Okay, whereas if it's just your opinion, then you don't have a lot to build on. And that brings me to the final point, which is basically that this is a cycle that we actually hope you go through again and again. Okay, that when you evaluate a project, when you go through this process that we're going to walk you through, you end up revisiting who you are, I guess, and thinking about, okay, what are the skills that I can develop? How can I do this better? How do we do teamwork better? How do we innovate better? How do we manage the project so things don't go badly? And how do we evaluate? And then over time, what happens is we actually see an increase, a gradual increase in outcomes. And when we're working in communities, that's exactly what we want. We want to see a continual increase in the health and well-being of our communities. We have amazing communities and we want to see them keep growing. So this course will walk you through that process. Really looking forward to working with you. And I hope to meet you in person one day. Otherwise, let's get back into it. Thanks. Bye.